Hello, and welcome to Spoiler Alert, where I tell you how something was that isn't yet. This week we're looking at the new movie Chappie, which, as I understand it, is a gritty, dark reboot of the film WALL-E. The film stars Dev Patel as Dion, a slumdog millionaire who evidently used all his winnings to buy some robots from the newly mechanized police force of the future. As it turns out, cold and unfeeling was what the popos were going for all along. Dion is convinced he can instill a spark of life in a robot to make it think and feel for itself. And before anyone informs him that this is probably how the Matrix began, he succeeds and gives birth to a robot he names Chappie, because evidently the Indians could throw the British out of their country, but not their diction. And thus begins the story of how Chappie learned to be a real boy. It's sort of like Pinocchio with robots, which, you know, always works out well.
There are no strings on me.
We seem to be using that clip a lot lately. Actually, this movie does owe a lot to Pinocchio, as Chappie then proceeds to go out into the world and discover all the dangers it has in store, ranging from putting art students out of work to joining a gang. Too bad the 3 laws of robotics don't work too well on the lawless streets, son. I promise not to do that again. Not everyone is excited that Dion may have initiated the robot apocalypse, though. Vincent, played by Hugh Jackman, is a cop on the edge with nothing left to lose. And for once, that's played as the kind of terrifying thing that it really is. See, Vincent is upset that he's losing his job to robots. And is desperately trying to convince anyone he can that Chappie is the first step on the road that leads to Skynet, proving that, if this were a horror film, he'd be sufficiently genre savvy to survive the first 15 minutes. One of the people he convinces is Michelle Bradley, played by Sigourney Weaver, who's just happy to be in a sci-fi film where nothing is chasing her. Yeah, she's got a desk and she's just gonna sit there and tell everyone else to do the running for once. She's staying right there. Hugh Jackman eventually gets the okay to go after Chappie, but he doesn't have adamantium claws in this film, so he decides he needs a little extra firepower. Thus, he goes after Chappie with the equivalent of a small army, or, if you're American, your local high school security team. Now, on the production side, it's worth noting that this movie is brought to us by the same people who brought us District 9, so you can bet there's going to be a metaphor in there somewhere. This time around, they seem to be arguing that police occasionally overstep their boundaries, which seems absurd to me. I mean, name one time that's happened. Just one. Seriously, stop at one, show you have more restraint than they do. But perhaps the strangest aspect of this movie is that it seems to have 2 South African rappers playing themselves, Yolandi Visser and Ninja. Evidently, someone told them that sci-fi is a good way to up their street cred, which I suppose is why I saw so many rappers at the last Star Trek convention. And that's it for this week's Spoiler Alert. Please, tell me what you want reviewed in advance next in the comments down below. And join us next week when we take a look at the new season of Community. Until then, don't say I didn't warn you.